Okay, I'm going to show you how to use the Mythic Beasts Pi Cloud to provision a Raspberry Pi 3 server, which you can access over SSH and deploy web apps to. So, Mythic Beasts is a Cambridge-based hosting company. They provide all sorts of servers, one of which is a Raspberry Pi. So I'm logged in here, so this is what you get when you go to their Pi page. So you can choose to pay differently with different means. So you've got pay monthly, pay quarterly, pay yearly, and on demand. There's also an API that allows you to provision up Pis at your own will, which will default to the on-demand billing. So you can just deploy them and tear them down as needed. So I'm going to use that option for now. You can set the disk space you need. The default is 10. That's the sort of minimum, and you can add more and pay more for that. If you need extra space. So currently they just have Raspberry Pi 3s. They're a mix of Bs and B pluses, and it's random which one you get. And I'm sure that in future they'll add some Pi 4s to their collection as well, and they'll probably allow you to choose between the two. So if I've selected on demand, I've got my Raspberry Pi 3, 1 gig of RAM, 4 cores. So you're not getting just a slice of Pi. You're getting the whole Raspberry Pi itself, dedicated Pi. The way this works is they're not booted from an SD card the way you would usually use a Raspberry Pi. They're booted over the network. So there's a server rack full of Raspberry Pis that are networked together. They're net booted using Pixie Boot on an IPv6 only network. It would be economically unviable to run every Raspberry Pi with a dedicated IPv4 address, seeing as an IPv4 address will cost you more than a Raspberry Pi. So they're all IPv6 only, but they do provide a bridge between the two. So if you're on an IPv4 network, so if you don't have IPv6, if your ISP doesn't provide it, they provide you a bridge that will allow you to proxy to get over to get directly to your Pi on IPv4. So you can get up and running really quickly. So if I've selected this, I'm just going to go order now. Okay, you're asked to provide a service name between 3 and 10 characters. So this just needs to be a unique identifier for your Pi, and you should bear in mind that if you're going to deploy a web app to this, it will be accessible at whatever you type as servicename.hostedpi.com. So I'm going to call mine tempgraph. So I agree to the terms and conditions, and you can fill out the rest if you like, and then go to confirm. So you're about to provision the following services. So yes, Raspberry Pi 3 called tempgraph. Proceed. So this is currently being provisioned. So I've got there Raspberry Pi called tempgraph, Raspberry Pi 3, 4 cores, 1 gig of RAM, terabyte of bandwidth a month, and disk space for the Raspberry Pi of 10 gig. So that's currently telling me what it's doing. So it's currently installing the operating system, booting the Raspberry Pi. This is all happening in real time, waiting for the DNS to update, and it's done. So now I can click through, configure your server. So this is it. So this is all the details I need to get to it. So it's currently powered on, and it's running the default OS, which is Raspbian Buster. So if I want to SSH onto this, I use these details. So I've got the username's root, just gives you a root user initially. That's the host, so ssh.tempgraph.hostedpi.com on this particular port. So this is the port that will route you through to through the IPv6 proxy, so that you can access it from an IPv4 network. Alternatively, if you've got IPv6, if your ISP provides it, you can just SSH to root at this, and you don't need to go through the proxy. But a lot of people do. So, and it uses SSH-based authentication. So the only way you can get onto this currently, unless you log on, well, you have to log onto it once. Obviously, you can log onto it and you can enable password authentication. But I think SSH key authentication is a really good practice, so I keep it at that. And so this is the command I would need to do it. But first of all, I need to configure my keys. So if I open a terminal, And if I grab my SSH key from .ssh id rsa.pub, I'm going to grab the contents from that file. So that's my public key. I'm going to paste that into here and save changes. So now I should be able to use this command to log up directly onto the Pi. There we are. I'm now on my Raspberry Pi. So if I do cat proc CPU info, you can see there. This is that's the Pi serial number. That's the revision. You can see all 4 cores. And if I do cat proc device tree model, that shows me that this is a Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. So I didn't get a B plus this time, but that's a B. And that's it. That's my Pi.